Good morning. It's Jo Avalon here from Avalon by Nature, and welcome to another of my Cuppa chats. And today I'm really excited to welcome Sandra Greenhalgh from Queensland. Good morning. Welcome. I made contact with Sandra earlier this year over a couple of posts that you were making about a new publication that you've got coming out. And then I was delighted to discover that you've got some Oracle cards available too. So I was hoping that we could have a chat about the Oracle cards to start with, because I think they look amazing. And of course, COVID got in the way and I forgot all about ordering them. So I don't even have them to show. So I hope you've got some to show.
I do. Yeah, COVID's got in the way of so much, hasn't it, really? But thanks having a chat. I'm sorry I don't have a cuppa with me. I've had so much coffee this morning. I'm like,
no, that's all right. That's all right.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, so it's been a busy. Yep.
You're right. It's been a busy.
You're right. Busy year.
Yes.
Because this time last year I launched my card, the Druid Wisdom Oracle, which I'm really proud of. And like this time, this year, you know, like I've been co-editor in A History of Druidry in Australia. So it's been pretty huge, really. Yeah. So and very creative.
And I was seeing on your bio on your website that you defy standards. You're a mum of teenagers and live in central Brisbane, and it defies standards for being a druid anyway. So I kind of want to hear a little bit about that as well.
Sure. So I'm a Druid Grade member through the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids, and that's an international Druid order. It's one of the biggest in the world. So I've been a member of that for about 30 years, you know, back when it reopened many years ago. So that's quite a wonderful earth-based spirituality. But the good thing about Druidry, this form of Druidry as a practice, you know, we can have Christian Druids or Hindu Druids or whatever Druidry is, a very open sort of form of spirituality or practice, however you choose to do it. So so that's been, you know, a major part of my life for many years. So and one of the important aspects of Druidry is creativity. And I suppose, you know, like these are very tangible, you know, like efforts of my, you know, creativity. Whereas other Druid people like sing and write poetry and or even do craft activities. There's Druid people that they do crochet and knitting and stuff as part of the creativity. So yeah.
Oh, cool. So how did you come to be creating the Oracle cards? What was your inspiration there?
Well, the funny thing is it wasn't planned at all. It was just like this crazy. I did not actually plan to develop a set of Oracle cards. I'd recently published a different book on, you know, a feminine spirituality that under a different name. And I was shopping in Woolworths, up my local Woolworths. And then I just suddenly had this crashing insight of all these images and words. And I went, oh my God, this is just like intense. So I came home and dumped the groceries and pretty much sketched out and had the inception for a deck of Oracle cards. So that was pretty amazing. And then I can draw a bit. I'm not too bad with drawing, but I'm terrible with color. And then so the inspiration was like massive, and it was like, if this was happening, I need to do something with this. So then it was a case of putting that inspiration into, you know, action and actually drawing the deck. And I published them, you know, independently. So it's been quite a massive learning journey, but very satisfying to hold the cards in my hands. So, and they are pretty cool, I think. So different cards, and they relate to Druidry. They're not a complete system of every single thing about Druidry. You can't encapsulate that in a deck of cards, but so I'm pretty excited about that. And they're also great for divination as well. So
for sure. Can you hold a couple up to the actual camera so we can just see the little bit of detail? That'd be great. There are a couple there.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so
because I would be if I had gotten myself organised and got a deck. So that one's
on the way.
Fire card.
So there's some air and fire and water.
Okay, so you got your elements there. Oh wow.
And there's also different Celtic deities is probably the wrong word, but, you know, like heroes and gods and different Celtic.
You did a post of that one. Yeah,
you did it recently.
Just recently. So what does that one talk about? Because I've not heard that name before and I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. So Imogen, he was associated with Ireland and the invasions of Ireland, and he's sort of like there's this wonderful poem or ode or magical working associated with him when he sung to the beings of Ireland. So that's you know, there's a whole lot of myth cycle associated with that. So
there's serpents there and everything. Yeah.
And also there's cards associated with different times of the year. So that's like Beltane.
Yeah.
So there's 8 different seasonal observations, but there's a lot of different stuff, you know, hidden in the cards. They're sort of simple, but they're not. For example, there's instead of like crossing through the bonfire, we're crossing through an archway, and in the back there's the Tour of Glastonbury right in the back.
Yes.
And,
can see it. Yeah, we can see it. It was clear.
Then, and then, you know, like the maze was actually associated with the ritual that we did when we hosted the Australian Assembly many years ago. So we actually walked that maze through the gateway, which we set alight. There's a nice goddess one. Okay, sorry if I was really organised.
No, this is perfect. Yes, I saw you did one about that. So tell me about that one.
So there's 3, you know, aspects. Actually, Bridget is a really complex being because she's associated with Christianity as well as being a pagan goddess. So she's quite complex and layered. So there's generally assumed 3 different aspects to Bridget. So there's Bridget the healer, smithcraft and poetry. So that's one of the aspects. She's like fire forge and Bridget is the smith.
Yeah.
So essentially, I suppose if you draw this card, it's saying, hey, there's some projects that you need to get into and finish, and this is a gentle nudge maybe to start, or maybe to complete those projects that you've been putting off for a long time, but now's a great time.
Yes.
And different cards, like, we all love Camino. He was like, you know, came, through. But it also layers.
You had an Epona there as well. Epona?
I do,
Isn't she the goddess of beer? Is that her?
The
goddess of beer? No, there's somebody else.
No,
she's on a horse.
She's on a horse. But if you want to drink beer on a horse, that's fine. That's up to you.
Drink riding, I'm not sure about that.
And also, like, there's the Bard and the Ovates and the Druid, which are like
gorgeous. Is that an Irish Baron?
Is that what? Sorry?
Is that an Irish Baron?
A bard? Oh no, he does. And this.
No. The drum that he's playing.
Oh, it is indeed, and it's actually got the different creatures from the Chase of Kirrigvan and Taliesin on it. The different transformation, how they transmute into the different creatures during that transformative chase.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I'm trying to find, and there's different ones as well. Oh, there's my Druid card. So. Druid card.
Oh wow! No, hold that up for a bit longer. Hold that one, the Druid one, up a bit longer. Yeah. What's the plate that she's holding? Is it a plate of offering or?
It is, and some of the images are based off ancient stone carvings and you know, historical, which I don't really go into a lot, but. She, for example, she's actually based off a really old stone carving of the goddess Serona from Middle Europe. So, you know, she has a snake and she has the offering plate or pattern. And Druids were associated with snakes, as you may know. Saint Patrick, you know, like driving out the snakes would be an allegory for driving out the Druids from Ireland. So that's sort of the link there with the Druids.
Beautiful, yeah.
And you know, there's different, you know, cards, the Grove, and that's actually based, you know, also the Celtic, you know, image from the Book of Kells, and it shows the connectedness of us all and with nature and with each other and community.
Yes. So, well, a lot of their knotwork, isn't it? It is about connection, isn't it? Because it runs into each other, and it's very meditative actually. Because I look at it and you think, gosh, it looks so busy, and then you go and look closer and you go. Oh, we're doing that.
Yeah, it is. It is. I love it. I love it. I must admit, it's really difficult to do. That was probably the extent of my knotwork. But people who actually craft, different knotwork designs, I'm in awe of, how they do that. So, so that's the cards. I, love my cards, and so
you have to be a druid to use them?
No, there's different people of different backgrounds that use them. They are really great just as a divination system. They're fantastic. The people that have taught them, might study Druidry or they might not, or it's a really handy way to learn about the form of Druidry if that's what you're after as well. So, different uses.
Yeah, cool. And I mean, I have a real not a connection drawing, I guess, to Avalon, of course, because Avalon by nature and Glastonbury, and definitely when I look at some of their decks of cards that kind of purport to be related to Avalon, it's like it's got to have just that set of imagery that you kind of associate with that. And yeah, a few of those, absolutely. I can't wait to actually get a deck from you now. Because I think that, very earthy. I know that I've come real full circle. I've become back to kind of a bit more pagan, earth-based spirituality, I guess. I didn't call it anything for a long time, and I still don't, but definitely getting a pull back to the earth-based stuff. And I think, that'd be really lovely. Symbols and imagery and concepts and ideas and practices, of course, but in terms of the cards, concepts to assist with that, grounding that spirituality, I guess. Wow.
Some people actually just choose the cards and they put them on their altar as a focus point as well.
Yes.
Which is a lovely, and if they're, certain times of the years or certain times they, aspects they want to focus in on, it's that visual, reminder.
Yes.
So I think that's a nice way to use them as well.
Yes. Oh, I was just when you said that, I was just thinking about, we need to do a run on card holders, like business card holders, but nice wooden ones with a little slot in them so you can stick the card in. It could be a nice little altar edition. Sorry, my mind does that.
No, that's okay. And my mind does too. Yeah. And sometimes you just have to say that stuff.
That's right, just to get it out of the way. Cool. So, and you were also talking about a book that you've just published. Co-authored. Yes. So
it's pretty exciting. Yeah, Elkie White is the other editor.
Yep.
Co-edited. Sorry, I should say co-edited. So this is like brand new. It's only just like come into physical manifestation.
Wow.
And it's not readily available yet. The cards, if you want, the cards are available from my Etsy shop or just drop me a line. But this one is a little bit limited. The box has only really arrived. I don't know, a week and a half ago. So this is quite an amazing book, and it's quite a privilege to being part of this book. So how it started is Elkie White, and Elkie and I, we met many years ago, I think 1997 or, sorry, I'm so bad with numbers. Numbers are just not my thing. Anyway, it's a long time ago. In the 90s.
It is,
At the first, Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids event, and we met many, many years ago. And neither of us are that young anymore. And there's a lot of Druidry quite popular now compared to what it used to be. There was only used to be like one or two Druids in the village, and all the other Earth-based people used to go, Druids, what do you usually do? Anyway, so it's a lot more popular, and a lot more people, experiencing Druidry. And Elkie acted upon, an impulse which was inspired by a few people, because we go, what if this history is lost? And it's lost now in a way, because some people maybe not, as in the community as other people. And, we've got all this rich local history, and what is it? Where does it go? So a few years ago, Elkie started the Australian Druid History project, and she, with the help of some wise people, designed a questionnaire that asked people about what's their knowledge, what would they like to see, you know, sharing a bit about their experiences in Australian Druid history. So she did that, and you know, a few people got back and wrote responses, and that was really good. And then I had just published my first book, you know, independently, and I said, "Well, what are you going to do with all this, Elsie?" She said, "Well, you know, it's good to have." And then I said, "Well, how about we make it into a book?" And she said, "Oh, okay." So that was, you know, where that came from. So essentially, there was the different, you know, like history of, just pop that up as just like a picture, you know, like people have answered the questionnaire.
Right.
You know, with the different questions.
Yeah.
And bouncing off of that, we went, we need a bit more. So the book sort of grew quite a bit from those. And there's also, you know, like, well, what are the groups? That was like the next layer, you know, investigated. What are the local groups, and what are you know, the ones that are currently, you know, active, but what about the ones that have passed? So it was another huge layer where we, you know, talked to people that had been members of different groups or groves or seed groups or current members, and added that in, because it's funny, because some people went, "Oh, we've only just had a seed group going for like a year or so." And I said, "Well, in 20 years time, that's going to be history, you know, like you are actually making history." So it wasn't just about the, you know, the old groups and the people that have been around for a while. It's like the newer groups that are actually making history. And then it includes information about assemblies, which are a really important part of Druid history. So I'm just looking down here.
Are assemblies gatherings? Is that what you call gatherings?
Assembly, yes. Assemblies are gatherings that actually were created for the original bards, Ovates and Druids folk. So the assemblies are really significant because, sorry, that's just some pictures, and some of those have actually never sort of been seen in the public before.
Wow. Yeah.
So essentially they were the first time, so that's just like a program or something.
Okay.
The first time that people studying Druidry in Australia had actually ever got together in real. So I know you're not going to be able to see that. But that's just like the first program notes from the first you know, assembly ever. So these are important because this is where groups of Druid people get together and they see each other in person, and we do rituals together, and we share knowledge and share music and fun and laughter. So that's a really important part of the Australian landscape. And also Elkie, it's interesting because a lot of people sometimes intersect with Druidry and they go, I found out my grandfather was a Druid. Wow, am I a Druid too? And what we do have is we have this history in Australia of fraternal Druid lodges.
No way.
Elkie, yeah, it's cool, isn't it? Yeah. So Elkie researched, you know, the different fraternal Druid lodges in Australia. There was a Druid cricket club, did you know? And even in, for example, in Melbourne, there's a building, and if you're in Melbourne, you probably know about that. It's actually like a building with beds on the side there. Yeah. So Elkie researched different things about the fraternal Druid orders, which are different from the Druidry that most of us practice today, because the fraternal Druid orders are pretty much maybe it's like a friendly society. They looked after each other, benevolence, and paid pensions, and sort of like a little bit Mason, you know, maybe they, you know, have a few secret handshakes and
but we don't know.
And different, you know, like books. Yeah, that we don't, you know, and it's lovely to some people, you know, one person, for example, found out her grandfather was a Druid, and she sent us in some of the certificates. Yeah. So
how fascinating.
It is fascinating. Yeah, it is totally fascinating. So there's a lot in there. It's not a book about this is how you Druid, or this is what Druid, you know, it's not like a description. It's actually over 30 contributors like going, well, this is my experiences of Druidry, or, you know, my group, or my understanding. So so that's what it's about. So it's sort of really important. And I suppose the important thing is, how it's called
History.
History of
Excellent.
Druidry.
Yes.
It's not the history of Druidry.
Yes. Good.
Because we can't write the definitive history of Druidry. This is like one version, and it's the best version we
may have a part 2 or a second edition, or the next history of Australian Druidry. You just started the first collation of it. And I suppose as people buy the book and read the book, they'll probably, like always happens with books, they'll come forward and say, oh, blah, 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 I've had this experience, or I know someone who was, and it'll be in an area that you hadn't even explored before, and you'll have to write a second book.
I will, or we will. I know. I'm sort of like welcoming that, but sort of, scared of it, because we really did create it with the best intentions, and you just can't get it 100% perfect, and you never can. So we just did the best we could with the information we had. So
for sure. But I was thinking that would be a good thing if people come forward and say, oh, there's more, and and that actually inspires a greater investigation into the history, or recording of the history. I see that as a good thing.
And we just want to limit it a little bit as well, after the original submission.
Just to be affordable.
But we also like focus on the big things in Druidry, rather than a whole lot of like personal experiences. So there might be scope to increase the history project in a few years. But first of all, we just need to like get this book out to people, and celebrate it, I suppose. So that's the main priority.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, well, we'll look out for the launch for that.
Oh, and I should say, the other really important thing is that putting this book together in a history project is very much a labour of love for Elkie and myself. All of the profits after the the setup costs and the publishing costs and the contributor costs, all the profits will actually be returned to the Australian Druid community. So it is like a giving back as well. So the profits are returned. We see, like when different events are held, when we can actually hold events again, this could be, sponsorship for some people to be able to attend, or just, like just a little, a fund to provide resources for, groups of people. So that's important. So this is, something very much giving back to the Druid community of Australia as well.
Awesome. So, well, in fact, that could well be a great inspiration to do a follow-up one, so that you can keep the funds going for the group. Goodness. So I guess without going into too much detail, but I suggesting there's lots of so the book's, I guess, suggesting there's lots of kind of very local practicing Druids who gather together in sort of more intimate groups, perhaps. All around Australia. And is the Druidry practice, and this is something that I think I explore a lot, is I know the picture I've got, I'm just looking for the right words. Is it grounded in Australian experience?
That's a really good question, and it is quite challenging to have essentially what is a British or Northern Hemisphere European tradition, and how do you integrate that into the land that we live in. And it is challenging, and I've lived in England, and you go, everything's back when you're in England, it's like, wow, the seasons of art, and there's oak trees everywhere, and it's just so cool. Right. And you come back to Australia and you go, in Queensland there's not many oak trees around, they just don't thrive where I live. There's a lot of gum trees though. So it is challenging about how you integrate this spirituality in your local landscape. But Druidry really, I shouldn't say insists, but Druidry in a way requires it, because it does look at the land around you, and it does look at the seasons around you. And you need to investigate that. And I will say one thing that most people following a Druid tradition in Australia are very cautious about, though, is not culturally appropriating any of the law or the wisdom of the Aboriginal Australian peoples and Torres Strait Islander people. So that's something we can't just come into Australia and go, hey, you know, like we don't have these myths in our landscape, but let's pluck, you know, the myths of the Indigenous peoples of this country and use that. So it is quite a difficult, you know, like thing to do sometimes. But, you know, it is a case of looking at what's around you, the seasons around you, the trees and the animals around you, and working with that in a druidic way. And I don't have the answer about how to do that. And lots of people don't have the answer. And it's probably a more of an individual thing. So there's no oversweeping, this is how you do Druidry in Australia, and this is exactly what it means. It is very much a process of exploration.
Yeah, investigation, and of course our seasons here. I'm on Lake Macquarie near Newcastle, so my seasons here would look different, slightly different to the ones where you live, and different again to those who live in South Australia, Western Australia, Northern Territory. So I guess so the Druidry is about living with the land and within your environment.
And learning to do it, I suppose. Learning to do that, because it is all learning. I don't think that, you know, it's not a static thing. It's a very dynamic process.
Wow. Wow. Oh, what else? You keep alluding to this other book that you wrote. You've swiped it aside twice.
No, it's okay. I've written it under a different name. It's not associated with Druidry, so it's another sort of aspect. So I keep those, you know, separate. That's all. So I suppose I mention it because it's exciting, because it was the first book that I've ever written. And, you know, like you got your little bit, I want to write a book, I want to write a book. And then it's a lifelong thing to actually like write a book. And the process of actually creating it's a really, really harsh, difficult, awful process in my experience. It's not like, oh yes, this is so wonderful, it's just flowing, you know, like and the cards, it's like really, really tough work, because you've got the part of the creative process, for me anyways, you know, you've got this doubt and this almost like self-loathing, where you go, this is terrible, why am I doing that? This is, you know, what right do I have, you know, to write a book when there's so many amazing people have written and created amazing books and amazing cards. But, you know, I do want to say that wasn't the process with this book, because this was such I should say that this was such a collaborative process, you know, with so many people being involved, and even, you know, amazing people spending their time to edit and re-edit and pick up, you know, issues and fact check and go, I think this happened in this year, not that year. So it's not the same process with the History of Druidry in Australia. But the other, you know, my first book in the cards, it was more of an individual process that you have to work through. So, which maybe doesn't happen for everyone, but I found it part of my creative process. So.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm reading a book by another lovely author of that group of authors who had that online launch I was mentioning earlier. And, you know, she wrote in the end of her book, you know, her gratitude section, where she thanks her husband for all of the cups of teas that he made for her while she was, you know, slogging away on a computer there. And she also refers to the self-doubts and the, oh, why am I writing this, and who's going to read this? And you know, that sounds to me like that is an incredibly common process that you go through. Yeah, absolutely.
It is. And I think that the main thing is, though, is that you just got to stick with it. You know, you've got to like, yes, that's how I'm feeling and it feels awful, but you just got to park it and work through it. It's almost like an initiatory process to work through. And it is coming out the other end to go, oh my God, I did it. I worked through that stuff. Yeah, so, but it's funny because previously I would have thought, oh, you know, usually creativity, it's nice and it's flowing and, you know, but no, this is creativity with a purpose, and you just got to keep on powering through.
Well, I do some small macrame wall hangings, and I also do a lot of macrame jewelry, and I can tell you I usually unknot all of them at some point throughout. I've made a mistake, or oh, no, that doesn't sit right, I have to unknot it and start again. So I think that happens in any creative process. It doesn't just go bleh and look wonderful. Yeah. So what was your other book? Your first book.
Oh,
Your
nice
first
one.
baby.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's different topics though. No, I won't discuss it here. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It's
Right.
about women's spirituality. Earth-based women's spirituality. So that's all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. I'll ask you about it later.
Yeah, I'll see you later.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, all right. So, what's your Etsy shop so we can find the cards to buy
Sure.
from you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think if you actually Google Druid Wisdom Oracle and
Okay.
it'll come up. But the shop it's Byrning Tyger, which is BYRN. Sorry, I can't spell either. BYRNINGTYGER.
Yep.
And that's an allusion to Blake. Oh, I love William Blake. Tyger, burning bright in the forest of the night, and I love that poem.
Right.
So that's it's about inspiration and creativity. That burn of creative force. So that was why the name is. So my cards are located there. The book, just a slight layer. I'm just sort of like giving that. I need to I'm still waiting on some boxes to be delivered.
Yeah.
And then after that, it will be available directly from me. Hit me up on Facebook.
Yep.
Or Instagram. And it will go in the Etsy shop for a little bit as well. And then it will be available commercially, through Book Depository and other sources. But I'm just delaying that a little bit because, as I said, the profits are going to the Druid community. And once you release a book commercially, the profits sort of go, like about that. And that's just how it is, and that's fine. But yeah.
No, that sounds good. Well, thank you. I've really enjoyed chatting with you today. Thanks for coming and sharing your time and knowledge with us as well. And so I'll pop those links up on the video, which will house at Avalon by Nature's YouTube channel. So you're welcome to share that wherever you want. So thank you, and I look forward to catching up with you again. Yeah. The launch of your book.
Baby, hey? Okay. Bye, Jo.
All right. Thank you. See you, Sandra.